The NYSCA REDC Workforce Investment Program is a NYSCA funding opportunity. The Workforce Investment Program is alongside two other REDC initiatives, the Mid-Size Capital Fund, and funding opportunities through 15 other NYSCA arts and cultural programs. In FY18, NYSCA distributed approximately $41 million in local assistance through approximately 1,100 direct grants and 1,300 re-grants to organizations across the state. When applying to NYSCA's REDC opportunities, prospective applicants are encouraged to review the strategic priorities for their own regions so that they may more effectively speak to them in their applications. All REDC applications will be submitted through the Consolidated Funding Application, or CFA portal, which can be accessed through the link on the screen. By applying through the CFA, applicants may submit a single application for multiple opportunities across different agencies. Applications must be submitted no later than July 26, 2019 at 4 p.m. Applications submitted after this time cannot be accepted under any circumstances. Applicants are strongly encouraged to submit their applications earlier than this date to avoid any technical difficulties and leave time to troubleshoot unexpectedly when using the site. For the 2020 fiscal year, up to $5 million will be available for all NYSCA REDC initiatives grants, which includes the Workforce Investment Opportunity. Workforce investment support is designed to expand opportunities for workers of diverse backgrounds in the New York State arts sector while enhancing the capacity of New York State arts and cultural organizations and thereby strengthening the field as a whole. The program will support the creation of new full or part-time positions and the expansion of existing part-time positions to full-time. The goals of the program are to expand and diversify the arts and cultural workforce, create jobs in the arts and culture sector that will provide new opportunities for workers and communities across the state, use new and expanded positions to increase the capacity, quality, and impact and efficiency of organizations, their programs, and their operations. Grant awards will support one expanded staff position or one new staff position. Organizations with annual operating expenses under $3 million that meet the criteria are eligible to apply. Please note there is no limit on the organizational budget size for applications submitted to the Resident Artist Focus Area, which will be discussed later in this presentation. Applicants must demonstrate the critical need for the employee and provide a substantial sustainability plan to ensure continued employment after the grant term ends. The workforce investment category includes two areas of support. The first area is grants for new positions. These grants are open to applicants who have not received workforce investment grant funds in the last round or round 8 of the REDC program. These are for entirely new or newly expanded positions. The second category is for renewals of grants from round 8 of the REDC Workforce Investment Program. Grants for new positions range in size from $37,500 to $112,500 over a 2-year, multi-year contract period. Grantees or applicants applying for grants for resident artist positions may also apply for an additional $10,000 in discretionary artistic support. These grants carry a 50% matching requirement on the grant amount, which does not include in-kind services. This means that a grant request of $40,000 would be required to match an amount of $20,000 over the grant period. Renewal grants for round 8 grantees range in size from $12,500 to $37,500. Current grantees applying for renewal may apply for grants at an amount of 50% of their current grant amount. Those applicants for renewal that have resident artist positions may apply for an additional $10,000 for artist discretionary funds for their resident artist project. These grants will run for 1 year from March 1st, 2020 to February 28th, 2021. These grants carry a 150% matching requirement on the grant amount. That means that grants of $20,000 would be required to raise $30,000 to support the grant, which does not include in-kind services. This category is only open to initiatives that are not part of current NYSCA FY 2020 requests. And the grant includes 2 focus areas as referenced previously in this presentation. Applicants may apply for general, full, or part-time positions in any area of an artistic organization, including production, administration, or artistic programming. Or they may apply for resident artist positions to employ an artist full-time in their organization to take on a community engagement project. Grant funds may only support a single position and may only be applied to the base salary, with the exception of those applicants applying for resident artist positions. These applications may include up to $10,000 for artistic discretionary funds for those resident artists. Matching funds may be used to support additional salary requirements, benefits, fringe, and employer-paid payroll taxes. Applicants may not apply grant funds to payroll taxes, fringe benefits, overhead costs, or contracted employees or seasonal staff. Successful applications will demonstrate a strategic need for the position in the organization and explain how it will increase the organization's capacity and ability to undertake its work. They will demonstrate a commitment to recruiting and hiring candidates from historically underrepresented communities and the capacity to sustain the position beyond the end of the grant period. Competitive proposals will detail how recruitment plans will reach a broad constituency and how hiring policies will increase the number and types of candidates that will be competitive in their process, and how the position will contribute to the organization's larger goals relating to diversity and inclusion. Please note that NYSCA defines diversity broadly and recognizes that the nature of underrepresentation may have significantly different meanings across different communities, professions, and artistic disciplines. Diversification of the arts workforce and advancement of cultural equity and inclusion within arts organizations are at the core of NYSCA's REDC priorities, and competitive applications for the Workforce Investment Program should reflect meaningful efforts to achieve these goals. Applicants to this category are encouraged to define terms related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and underrepresentation clearly as they relate to their own organizations and regional or community circumstances, and to explain how their proposed hiring efforts are designed to appropriately address the structural and cultural obstacles that have limited access and participation for those groups in their area of the arts workforce historically. All applicants must meet NYSCA's general eligibility requirements, which are available on its website at arts.ny.gov/eligibility. All applicants must also be pre-qualified in the Grants Gateway portal at the time of the application deadline on July 26th at 4 p.m. Please make sure to check your pre-qualification status earlier and request any updates at the very latest, no less than 1 week before the application deadline, to ensure staff are able to process your request. Keep in mind when proposing a request amount that NYSCA rarely funds projects that make up more than 25% of an organization's annual operating budget. Only not-for-profit arts and cultural organizations incorporated in New York State or registered to do business in New York State may apply for funding, and applications must clearly demonstrate that the project is related to arts and culture in both the CFA application and their project plan. Applicants that fail to establish this focus will be deemed ineligible and will not be scored. Projects will only be considered eligible if they are not currently receiving funding from other NYSCA grant programs. Applicants should keep in mind that if they have other NYSCA grants that are not the same as this request, that all REDC grants are exempt from NYSCA's General 2 grant limit. Tips for completing your application. Make sure to adhere to the application date and time. NYSCA and the CFA do not reopen the application portal for late applications. Do not assume reviewers have familiarity with your organization, project, or region. Panelists come from many areas around the state and from a variety of professional backgrounds. You should demonstrate alignment with program priorities. Make sure your responses in the questionnaire collectively explain how the project aligns with the goals of the program and your region. Make sure to adhere to all eligibility requirements listed in the guidelines. Read them carefully to ensure that the application is not disqualified. Common eligibility issues include lacking pre-qualified status in Grants Gateway at the time of the application, requesting an amount below the minimum threshold for the program, proposing ineligible activities, failing to propose a complete eligible match, and sourcing more than 50% of your project from state funds. Make sure to double-check your budget totals, and make sure itemized costs add up to your request and overall project and matching amounts. Make sure that proposed costs adhere to eligibility requirements. Specify your expense allocations and explain how the itemized costs in your budget were calculated in the space available. Be sure to indicate how NYSCA funds will be expended specifically and how your costs were calculated. Explain your organizational financial statements. If there are abnormalities in the organization's operating budgets or other financial materials, add budget notes to explain them. Provide letters of support from local stakeholders in your community. These are not required, but including such letters will strengthen your application. Finally, be sure to submit separate CFA applications for capital projects and other types of workforce and programming initiatives. And once again, make sure to adhere to the application deadline of July 26, 2019 at 4 p.m., as the portal cannot be reopened. NYSCA staff will conduct an initial internal review of all received applications for eligibility based on the objective criteria outlined in the guidelines. Ineligible applicants will be notified of their ineligible status within approximately 2 weeks of application submission. All applications that are deemed eligible will undergo a two-part review and scoring process. A combination of NYSCA panel and staff scores will make up 80% of the total score for the application, with the other 20% determined by regional councils. The Regional Economic Development Council's review and rating is conducted separate and apart from the NYSCA process. NYSCA staff and panels will rate applications based on a series of criteria that include managerial competence, artistic merit, and service to the public. The Regional Economic Development Council's review will be based on the degree to which an application advances strategies and goals of the Regional Economic Development Council. If you have questions, please direct them to the appropriate office as listed on the screen. Program and grant-related questions may be directed to the NYSCA REDC team at nysca.redc@arts.ny.gov. Technical questions pertaining to the CFA may be directed to cfa-tech@ny.gov. Questions about the Grants Gateway portal may be directed to grantsgateway@its.ny.gov. Thank you very much for reviewing our presentation.